I want to be the first person ever to ride a jet-powered bike across Death Valley, the hottest desert on Earth. But actually doing that won't be easy, because not only do I have to build a bike, I'll have to keep it working for the entire journey. And since I'll be traveling over 100 miles through some of the harshest conditions on Earth, problems are bound to happen. The first problem is I know nothing about bikes, so I asked my friend Jordan, the bike expert, to help me pick one out.
Hey, this is Jordan. As a cyclist, Jordan knows what the hell we're doing with this thing.
For $250, the bike looks pretty solid, but we still need a way to mount the jet and at least 10 gallons of fuel capacity, otherwise we won't have enough to cross the desert.
Basically, what we have to do is we need to make a custom fuel tank that fits on the back of this bike.
After Jordan and I checked out the rest of the components, we came up with a rough plan for how to build it. But since Death Valley is in California, shipping this bike there from Ohio would be insanely expensive. So I decided to pack up my turbine and hopped on a plane to LA, where I got picked up by Robert.
I think there's only one thing that should happen tonight for sure, and I think that's going to Walmart.
Robert is a robotics expert and a task force member who generously offered to let me use his workshop for this build, so after getting a duplicate bike from Walmart, we assembled it in his garage.
People were saying, hey, look, you're just mounting a jet to a bike, how hard could it be? But, I mean, you could easily screw it up.
Is this thing road legal?
No. Hell no.
The next day we woke up and started working immediately. With only 3 days to build it, we couldn't waste any time. First, we adjusted the bike to be as comfortable as possible, and once Alex arrived, it was time to figure out the fuel tanks.
Okay, so the plan here is that we're trying to mount some jerry cans to the back of it. We're gonna use those as tanks. That actually looks kind of okay.
Good.
It's not gonna...
right there.
Like
right there.
That's fine. I think that's fine.
But before we could actually mount anything, we needed to build a rack, so we picked up some steel from Home Depot and started cutting and welding it all together. This rack needs to be super strong, because in addition to the 5-pound jet, it'll have to hold over 90 pounds of fuel hanging off the sides, while also dealing with large bumps and uneven terrain on our ride through Death Valley.
It's working.
These outtakes are gonna be gold.
To mount the fuel tanks, we welded steel cleats to the sides that allow them to hang on the frame, attaching them to the bottom of the frame with screws, and then use JB Weld to add the push connect fittings that'll allow us to hook up the fuel line.
Ooh.
Yeah.
These welds,
No.
look at those.
No.
That's what a professional welder is capable of.
Next up was the electronics. The old versions of the jet system had all of the electronics exposed on the aluminum mounting rails, but this time we wanted to do a little better.
Robert's been working on some design for this thing. Holy crap, dude. All of this is gonna be in like a box. Honestly, this is gonna look like the part of the e-bike that's the battery.
Yeah.
Except instead of being a battery, we're killing the earth with every mile we move.
Yeah, well, that's a given.
I also wanted to replace my RC controller with an e-bike thumb throttle, but to do that, I'd need code. And I suck at code, so Dark Neutrino in the WTF Discord volunteered to write some basic code for us to start with. Since I founded the Weisz task force, I've had hundreds of software developers apply, but we only offer membership to those with the right attitude and the best skills. So if you want to stand out from the pack, our sponsor Scalar is here to help. Scalar is an online techversity that helps enhance the coding skills of software professionals. Not only is their carefully curated yet flexible course academically comprehensive, but each student is assigned to a mentor to help make them industry ready. Now, by comparison to a job, the task force application is way more chill, but ultimately we're looking for the exact same stuff. Unique skills with examples to back them up. And that's exactly what Scalar can help you build. Scalar will enrich your overall software developer career with their intensive 6 to 9 month program through live classes delivered by tech leaders and subject matter experts. It's a community for skill building and mentorships to hack the job recruitment process. If you've ever wanted to grow your skills as a software developer, Scalar is going to be your new favorite place. You can start your journey to better career opportunities today by attending a free live session. Just go to scalar.com to sign up. Now that we had the code, it was time to test out the jet. We connected the thumb throttle to our electronics and took the bike outside to boot it up.
So firmware's flashed?
It's not reading the throttle.
This isn't plugged into this.
I know, but Arduino should be still reading the throttle.
Running into a bit of a weird issue. Everything seems wired up correctly, but it's just not, our throttle isn't sending any signal yet. You said it was working before, right?
It was working before.
Welcome to integration hell, population us.
This is seriously bad. We only have till the end of the day to get this bike working, and without a throttle, I'll literally be going nowhere.
Oh, hey,
it works.
Hey,
It works.
it's
It works.
working.
It's fucking working.
Yeah, that looks good. Way to go.
So wait, let's try the cruise control. Yeah, no, all right.
Every
so
time.
We have to.
But even with the throttle fixed, the jet still wasn't turning on.
Whatever is happening, this is not sending enough power to send signal. Doesn't turn on until 5.5 and you get bad signal under 6.
And even after another 3 hours of troubleshooting, we still weren't 100% sure that everything was working right.
No, I guess the battery cut out. What?
But by now we were out of time, so the next day Robert and I woke up early to finish putting it all together and took it to a nearby road for one final test.
This is gonna be the all systems test, just to make sure that everything is working well together. So we're gonna use the actual fuel cans, the actual everything. I'm feeling pretty good about this. You said you're feeling about 75%?
75.
All right, 75, I like those odds.
Oh, it is coming up here. It's to there. Oh, you think the pump is stopping it from priming all the way through?
I think what we do is we just kick it on, and then it should start putting gas.
It should. It should. What's that? You good? Yeah! Let's go! You want to ride it? Yeah! It works! Let's go! With the bike finally working, it was time to go to Death Valley, but the extreme heat meant breaking down could be seriously dangerous. I needed someone I could trust to make sure I didn't actually die out there, and there was only one guy for the job, Andrew Levitt. Andrew's made a name for himself exploring the real-life versions of pop culture locations, and to do it he spent plenty of time in some of the toughest conditions on Earth. If anyone could keep me alive in Death Valley, it was gonna be him, but on the way to the desert I got a text from Alex Choi, and with a bike this powerful, I just couldn't turn down a race.
What car are you in? Dude, we're in the one that just pulled out on the lake.
Oh my god!
Yo! I gotta drive. What? We're racing that. This is not real. This is not actually happening. Let's get a thing. Yeah. So we gotta put it back together. What we've dubbed the Greenpeace 3.
The world's most eco-friendly e-bike.
There it is.
The wind on the lake bed was absolutely insane. With consistent speeds above 30 miles an hour, turning the bike was incredibly sketchy. With the massive weight and added drag of the fuel tanks, any attempt to move crosswind felt like a constant fight. So I started with a couple passes at about 35 miles an hour to get a feel for the bike and ensure that I could rely on our engineering. The surface wasn't perfect. The high center of gravity and large wheels mean that every small wobble feels absolutely massive.
He's got some speed wobbles.
Nah, it was just wobble.
After running a few practice laps and gaining some confidence, I was finally ready to race the helicopter. After starting out around 40, every single run was getting faster and faster, but I really wanted to break 70 miles an hour. And after a few more attempts, I finally got this run.
I was going 65 and you were really pulling away.
After hitting over 70 miles an hour on a literal Walmart bike, I was riding high on adrenaline, but I couldn't let that break my focus on the challenge ahead. Speed is one thing, but endurance is another entirely, and I'd need both if I wanted to make it through Death Valley in one piece. And at 9 a.m. the next morning, it was time to hit the road.
So the last time I was here,
Yeah.
it was 120 degrees and 2 people died.
Oh my god.
The route we set starts directly across the valley from Badwater Basin. Because Death Valley is a national park, we can't just go riding across the wilderness. But using the roadways comes with its own set of issues. We're also gonna have to dodge the park rangers because while this is not technically illegal, it is very much a gray area. And frankly, we just don't want to leave it up to interpretation, all right? As soon as I started to ride, I was already getting worried. The coarse gravelly road was slowing me down a ton, and I knew the last 20 miles of the route would be way, way worse. And I needed to get there as fast as possible so I could buy myself time for any unexpected hiccups.
Who in their right mind would ride a jet-powered bike across 100 miles of desert? That thing is smoking.
That is insane.
So you're going about 20 miles per hour right now.
Average?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, that's top speed.
Oh, did I lose my, oh no, I lost my debris screen. You know, the little like thingy that goes on here.
Without the debris screen, even a single stray pebble could get sucked in and completely destroy this jet. But with 96 miles left to go, I really didn't have time to wait. So while I pushed ahead, Andrew went back to get the screen.
I found it.
The loose rock made the road feel slippery and unpredictable, meaning I had to focus hard to avoid wiping out. But I knew there was a better road just a few miles ahead. Riding a little further, I could finally see the road in the distance and...
Oh, a gas can fell off. I don't think he knows, a gas can. Oh no. One of the gas cans fell off.
What the that's not good.
when the fuel tank fell off, the fitting got destroyed. And if I couldn't find a way to fix it, this entire challenge would be a bust.
This is supposed to be a blue thing. It's not secure. The push connect is not secure anymore, but this may just be possible to duct tape the shit out of. Spare connector bit that I have, it's like a right angle connector. And what I'm attempting to do is a little bit of surgery here.
I grabbed a couple spare tubing connectors from my tool bag and broke one apart in the front seat of the car. I wasn't sure, but if I was able to replace the spring and fitting on the tank with the one from inside this adapter, I might just be able to fix it.
This is some like 500 IQ surgery. Look at that. You see that? That's a mother push connect, bitch. Let's go. A pair of pliers and a box of connectors.
We're back in action.
Back in action, as long as we get it on there. But,
yeah, now you gotta figure out the screw situation.
Luckily, I bought a pack of 4-foot-long zip ties as a joke earlier that week, and they were about to come in clutch. I also added a small zip tie in front of the debris screen to keep it in place and ensure it wouldn't fall off again.
Yeah, baby. Well,
Don't go over any big bumps.
After one more mile of gravel, I successfully reached the main road and started on the 10-mile ride to reach the Death Valley Resort, our next stop on this journey.
We're officially on the main Death Valley Road, so cross your fingers that we don't run into a park ranger.
The road may be smooth, but the next 25 miles are by far the most populated on the entire route, meaning I have the highest risk of running into a ranger, which could put an immediate stop to our entire journey. After a couple more miles, I got to the resort.
me and the boys.
Rolling in, I turned off the jet and discreetly locked up my bike on a nearby railing.
There we go. That boy's not going anywhere.
In addition to getting lunch, the Death Valley Resort has the only gas station on my entire route, and even with the spare fuel in the support car, I need to fill up to make sure I have enough.
I'm glad we're using your credit card.
Dude, what is this? $9? Dude, I'm worried they're gonna have to add an extra digit soon.
That's the most expensive
That's the most
diesel in
expensive.
America.
I think it might be the most expensive gas in America.
Should have gone electric.
With nearly 78 miles left to travel and only 8 hours before sundown, I capped off the tanks and started riding as fast as I could. Having dodged the Rangers so far, I was feeling pretty confident, but the road was getting tougher. From this point forward, the path was a near constant uphill climb, reaching nearly 5,000 feet of elevation by the end.
Uh-oh. We might be busted right now. They're literally right behind Lewis right now. He's still going. You didn't even notice.
Because it's not a bicycle if it's powered by a combustion engine.
You'll have to talk to Lewis.
Okay, so you're unaware of that?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have your driver's license with you?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. Here's your stuff back. That gentleman needs to, he's a...
Okay, I'll go tell him that and everything.
Guys,
I'm like way behind now. I've been driving for like 20 miles.
Dude, did you not see what just happened?
No.
You got pulled over.
I did?
Yes. And then I stopped and you just kept going.
What happened? Are they coming to come get me?
No, and then they go, we're gonna say that's a bike, so make sure he stays in the bike lane.
Okay.
So we're good.
So it's officially a bike.
He said, that's what he goes. He goes, we're gonna call it a bike.
I'd less than 50 miles left, and I was starting to get really confident.
We're 5 hours and 40 minutes into the trip. How are we feeling?
We're doing all right. I'm holding up okay. I'm pretty sore because this is about the cheapest, crappiest Walmart seat that you can get.
Now you want my Snickers.
Yeah, bro.
Here you go. You're not you and you're hungry.
Yeah, thanks, man.
What is it? Just a turbine?
Jet-powered bike.
Okay, less ecologic than my legs, but faster.
It's a little faster, yeah. As I continued to ride, it was like everything around me disappeared. This was between me and the road, and nothing was gonna stop me. Despite a rocky start, it was starting to look like I could actually pull this off. But of course, just when I was starting to feel confident,
Oh shit. Oh shit. It's like shooting out fire right now.
What the was that?
Just when we thought everything was going great.
you know that zip tie we were using to keep the FOD screen on?
Yeah.
I think it got sucked into the turbine. See the holes? Those are new.
That's not supposed to be hanging.
That's hella bad.
I don't even know what to say.
Subscribe down below if you want to see another version. And please go support my Patreon so I can buy another jet. And remember to check out Scalar at the link below. I mean, I'm buying another jet either way, but it would help.